Welcome to Arcade Cabinet 3.0. It's the third iteration, Street Fighter edition, so it's got the Street Fighter artwork in there. This is knocking out, it's got Dell gaming PC in here. I'll introduce the hardware and then we'll look at the content. Illuminated marquee, light gun sensor with a 32-inch 1080p Samsung monitor, 2.1 25 watt sound, so the bass is at the bottom down there. It's got the Street Fighter artwork, it's got this nice control panel here, 2-player with illuminated start buttons and credit buttons for the arcade games. Hidden away back here, light gun, great for the Operation Wolf type games. We've got pinball buttons for virtual pinball, which works really well, I think. And that's about it for the hardware. We've got USB D-pad controllers for the console games. So this is got 20,000 games on it, which is a heck of a lot of games. And it's split into systems like console systems, classic computer systems, and obviously your classic arcade games. Of that 20,000 games, 7,000 of those is the classic arcade games. So we're talking about, your Operation Wolf, your Afterburner, that type of thing. The way the menu system works is we've got the 50 different gaming systems we can scroll through. Okay, we've got Sega Master System here, for instance. There's 50 of these systems. Press enter, and we can see the list of the games. In Sega Master System we get a little preview, we get some nice artwork in there, a little bit of information. 1988, I remember this game, great game. If we want to play the game, press enter, and it will start up the game. The controls, especially if it's a console game, we will have. You might want to try using the cabinet, the 2-player controls, but you'll find obviously in the newer systems that we need to use the D-pad controller, because there just wasn't enough, or there isn't enough buttons here. There are many more buttons on the D-pad controller than we've got here. So you can try using it with your the fighting sticks, but I recommend using the we can see it. Have a go here, and so when you've finished playing your game, press escape. And we can scroll through. So, big fan of the classic arcade games, and also a fan of the classic console. So I'll briefly overview the systems. I don't think there's much point in going through all the games, because we'll be here forever and ever. So this comes with a lot of the Nintendo systems. It's got the old Panasonic 3DO in there, good few games in there. Each system has somewhere between 50 for, let's say, like the pinball games, up to 7,000 for the classic game, for the classic arcade games. For the classic arcade games, you need to add credits, because it's an exact copy of the arcade game. So you had to put credits in instead of putting a coin in. You press a button here and we've got credits, and then you press the start button to get the game going. In the console games, obviously you can use a D-pad, you can use a controller. We've got Nintendo Entertainment, Super Nintendo, Japanese systems, and Nintendo 64. Great few games in there. I think there's somewhere in the region of about 800 for the N64. Nice little artwork that goes with it. The Game Boys, designed for quite low resolution screens, so they don't look that fantastic running on such a big screen, but you can play them. GameCube games in there as well. Nintendo classics. Now we go on to the Sega classic console games. We've got the Sega classic games in here as well. The Sonic the Hedgehog, great game. Mega CD, 32X, all those more classic ones, and more recent games as well. Game Gear, that goes back, say how long? Maybe 30 years. Very old Sega system. Now we're on to the Sony systems. We've got some PSP games in there. Not the few hundred. It's only 20 or 30 of those games in there. Some Neo Geo. We've got PlayStation games in here as well. Neo Geo Pockets. Classic Amiga games. I grew up with Amiga, so this is because it's a computer system. You may need to pull out the keyboard to use it fully. Sometimes I work with the joysticks, configured to work with the joysticks, but Commodore 64, I didn't have this. Is slightly before my time. Another arcade emulator, AAE, if you remember the games, like this is vector-based games, so your asteroids and that old Star Wars game. So you'll find that a lot of the games are repeated across the systems. You might find them in the console, you might find them in the arcade games, and you find multiple versions of them for Japan and Europe and so on and so forth. So that's a great little system if you really like those classics. And we're getting back to the beginning now, just highlight the pinball games there. I really enjoy playing the pinball buttons. 2 pinball buttons, and then that button does the plunger. Some classic Atari games. Really, those just go big throwback, these games. Jaguar, which was a more modern console, but not by today's standards. I think we're nearly back to the beginning. Capcom. So these are like a subset of the overall arcade games. If you find that they don't run very well in one, you might find them again and find them running better in a different system. So many systems. Classic Apple games, classic PC games from back in the day, I just want to highlight some PC games. So these are modern, sort of last 5 years type games in there. You'll find we've got some of the PC games are a collection of 50 classic games. So Half-Life 2, great game, great. Okay, I said 5 years, maybe a little bit older than 5 years. Usually, if you've not heard of it, this is a way of fighting game that allows you to fight characters from different systems. So like Mortal Kombat characters against Street Fighter characters, for instance, or King of Fighters and other types of games. So these games, Scum, if you're not aware of them, but that was great. Those were great games back in the days. In my day they were back on PC, but they actually played on multiple systems. Actually sort of adventure games. And I have to highlight the Street Fighter, it being the Street Fighter artwork. We'll finish off with this and we'll have this running. So it's got internet so that it can connect to the Steam to verify the games, and then away we go. If you want to add your own Steam games in there, you can. We can just add a shortcut to your Steam games. Go through the credits, we can see nice intro video here. We have to do that really. It's a Street Fighter style, and I think we'll play out with a bit of Street Fighter.
Ready for this?